Mr. Derric Brown, U.S. Army veteran, VA employee, licensed clinical social worker, and an all-around nice guy. He runs the suicide prevention program here at the hospital, correct? Am I getting that all right?
All right. All right, so for those of you who know me, I can be long-winded at times, but I actually wrote some stuff down. But first I want to start by a little anecdotal story real quick before I go into what I wrote down. 16 years ago, there was a young man who was at a crossroads. Family ended up homeless and was in a very dark place. And at that moment, that individual was faced with a decision. And that decision was to either soak in the homelessness and the despair that he was in, or to go into the VA healthcare system and get the help that he needed. This individual had an uncle named Uncle Thomas, who was a Marine veteran. And he showed up at this barbecue and said, "Hey, you having trouble sleeping? How many of you guys out there have trouble sleeping?" Oh, look at all those hands go up. So my Uncle Thomas, he said, "Monday morning, you're going with me to the West LA VA. And so I'm not gonna tell Marine no, right? Even though I'm Army and we go back and forth, right? I wasn't gonna fight my uncle on this. So I went to the West Los Angeles VA, reluctantly. I went in, they gave me a quilt and said, "Thank you for your service." 6 months later, I received a notice saying, "You have been denied service connection for PTSD because you did not serve in a combat zone." How many of you know I did serve in a combat zone? So I had to go back and I had to fight and I had to go back forward. As you can see, that young man was me. So it was in that moment where I decided I'm gonna pursue my degree in social work and I'm gonna go and work in the VA and never, ever do what was done to me at that VA. So what I decided was to pivot. I pivoted and I went to the Long Beach VA and I met a gentleman named Norman who was a social worker. This time, he helped guide me through the system. He helped walk me through the process. Next thing you know, DAV steps in for me. And I didn't realize they appealed for me. I received $50,000 in back pay. 6 years of back pay. And that's what allowed me to get here where I'm at now in Fresno. Because the Lord put me in this place where he said, I had an option to work at the Team AMVETS for the Welcome Home program, or become a peer support specialist because I was in recovery after struggling years with substance abuse and mental health issues. I had the opportunity to have a choice, Houston, Texas, or Central California. Needless to say, my first choice was not Central California for a lot of reasons. We'll go into that later. But the Lord was clear. He said, you are going to the Central Valley to serve veterans, service members, and their families. And over the last 16 years, many of you out there who know me have watched me come here not knowing anybody and building a community to serve veterans, service members, and their families. Now let's get into the presentation since you know who I am now. For those of you who don't know me. And I got 9 minutes and I'll try to be as brief as I can, but I need to get all this off. And so, is that okay? Good morning, brothers and sisters. I stand before you not as a veteran, not just as a clinical social worker, but as someone who has been to the edge and chose to stand. That affects us all. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting a little excited. But as someone who has been to the edge and chose to stand and fight, I'm here to talk about a mission that affects us all. Ending veteran suicide. This isn't just a VA issue. It's not just a mental health issue. It's a public health issue. And it's gonna take all of us to defeat this. There's a saying in the VA, if you've been to one VA, you've been to one VA. Over the past 20 years, I've received care at 4 different VAs. The care hasn't always been perfect, but I honestly can say I've received the best care right here in the Central California. But I didn't recover just because of the hospital alone. I stand here today because of my unshakable faith in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, my Queen Ebony Brown, and my son Derric, who are out in the crowd right now. Because of my church family at Bethesda Apostolic Church, led by Suffragan Bishop Tobias Brookins, and a church that was also built by a World War II veteran named Bishop Henry L. Johnson. Because of my fitness family at the camp in Fresno, and because of my fellow veterans at the American Legion, AMVETS, VFW, and most recently, a trip on a Project Odyssey with Wounded Warrior Project in North Carolina. Yes, even as a licensed clinical social worker, I face the same darkness as you that claims so many of our brothers and sisters. But instead of letting it take me, I chose to fight, and I chose to stand. Here's the truth. Suicide is a Goliath, but just like in the Bible, Goliath doesn't fall by might alone. It falls when someone is brave enough to step forward, to pick up a stone and say, "Not today." This isn't a solo mission. It's a movement. And movements are built on community, on people like you, people who understand what it means to ride through storms, people who know loyalty, brother and sisterhood, and grit. So I'm asking you today, will you stand with me? Will you help carry this message across the Central Valley? Do not just with words, but with your presence. Will you ride with me? Not just for awareness, but for action. Let's show our brothers and sisters in arms that they are not alone. Let's connect them with the resources, the people, and the purposes they need. Let's break the silence. Let's break the stigma. Let's build a network so strong, suicide never gets the last word. Because in this valley, we don't leave anyone behind. In closing, this is our home. These are our people. And this is our fight. If you're willing to stand with me, to ride with me, and to spread this message to every corner of the Central Valley, then I know Goliath doesn't stand a chance. Let's take back our brothers and sisters 1 mile, 1 conversation, 1 life at a time. Let's ride.